I actually met with David, the COO at Velan, at E3 with an agent that we used to work with, and we sat there at lunch. He was like, "This is all like very under the radar." We signed an NDA before we had this lunch with him, and he kind of told us all about the game and the world and this amazing like 1950s futuristic kind of vibe. I sat there just thinking to myself, this is the perfect project. I love this style. It sounded so fun, the dodgeball element of like this kind of shooter vibe, but with a dodgeball. That's like so brilliant. So I kind of fell in love with the project while I was sitting there watching, listening to what he was having to say. I kind of said, look, we want to try this game. We want to give you a couple cues. Let us like try this out. Like let us demo a couple tracks. And I said, if you want to use them in the game afterwards, you could totally do that. You could, use them. We'll make 2-3 tracks for you. We just want a shot at this because it just sounds like an amazing idea. And I said, you got nothing to lose. Let's just try it. Just send us the brief. And he's like, sure, let's go. So that's kind of how we got involved.
Yeah, and I remember when you called me and told me, first of all, he was super excited. And we were just both like, this is the game that we need to do. Yeah. And I was like, okay, look, if we're gonna do this, like we need to go all in. Like let's hire the players, let's do whatever we have to do, to just make amazing demos, and that's what we did.
Yeah.
So the first 3 tracks we did was Beat, Feet, and Bounce, Boogie Street Brawl, and Fire Fingers.
Can you go into more detail about how Naokatsu was described to you?
It was described as an extreme dodgeball game. Set in a retro-futuristic world.
They would have these disputes, but the only way they can settle these disputes was with a dodgeball. Guns were never invented in this world.
Yeah,
so,
like cops walked around with dodgeballs.
Yeah, on their side. Yeah. It just sounded like such an interesting concept.
So how did you go about channeling the vibe of that world into the music that you made?
Honestly, for the first 3 tracks that we did, we didn't have like any visuals to work off of. We just went off of what they kind of described to us. So what we did is we went onto Velan's site, and the first thing that pops up has this background of this retro futuristic city, and we were like, that's gotta be it. That has to be it. So I took a screenshot and I put it on my big screen in there, and we just left that up the whole time we were doing it. Mm-hmm. And we just would do the music and just look at
would that exist in this world?
Yeah, would this fit there in that city? Mm-hmm. That's literally what we had to work off of.
Because it was a couple months before we actually got gameplay of the actual, we were just looking at the still image going okay, he's got neon hair. That's
there's some flying cars right
there.
Yeah.
And you weren't even positive that actually was.
No.
We weren't, no.
Not at all.
We were just taking our shot, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why do you always record when I'm doing my part? The whole documentary's gonna be me playing piano.
Yeah, I know. Yes!
I gotta save that part before I mess it up.
So once the team at Velan kind of started falling in love with the 3 demo tracks that we sent over, which was a long process. We kind of had to wait, what was it, maybe a month or 2 before we really knew that we had the gig.
Felt like forever.
It did, it felt like forever. But yeah, we waited quite a bit to kind of know, but we were kind of getting these hints all along that you guys were really liking it. So we were just kind of crossing our fingers, and I think what ended up happening was Matt was really our champion, because I feel like he was really kind of showing the team the music and showing everybody and really trying to convince that we can do this job, we can handle it.
One thing that I remember when we first started actually working with Matt was he always said, you know, we don't want to be too prescriptive with you guys. We don't want to tell you what to do. Like, here are, you know, some genres that we love. Here are some instruments that we love, and just go and do your thing. That was really cool. That was everything. Like, not putting us in a box, because like in Knockout City, like you can't, you know, you can't have that. Like it's like
Freeform. It's just like
Yeah.
It's you could do whatever you want.
Yep. Yeah. So that's something I'll always remember about working with them, is they never like said, whoa, we need this and we need this. It was like, no, just do your thing. So the music was coming from this radio station, KO City Pirate Radio, and it was gonna be different bands. Each band was, when we sat down and tried to figure it out, each band was gonna have their own sound. And the cool thing that we did is, before we even started working on a band, Matt and I would sit there and just talk about, you know, who is this band? What kind of instruments do they have? We like became, no, I can't say we became the band. But in a way we did.
We did. Yeah, we really embodied like what are the players on the stage?
We go back and forth, just like, oh, maybe, you know, this band is just, there's no like live instruments, it's all keyboards.
Yep.
You know, just like things that would separate each band. And that was before we even like hit one note. Like one band, like Rick and the Humans, like our idea was like Rick was an alien and he came from this planet where music was everything, you know? So he was just an insane player, insane writer, and he would get like all the best players around Knockout City to come play for him. And even those players were like struggling to keep up. And the funny thing is, when we were writing that music, some of our players were struggling to keep up with what we wrote. So I think we actually stayed pretty true to it.
We did.
Because of
Yeah.
that. I mean,
We
Chris.
had, we had this brass player call us up. He's a good friend of ours. He's an incredible player.
He is.
But he calls us up on FaceTime, and he's like trying to play one of the licks that we wrote, and he goes, "Do you see my fingers? They can't move that fast." And so I was like, "But you almost just played it. Like, I think if you just try it like one or two more times, you're gonna get it." And he nailed it. I mean, he sounded great on it. And actually, Sonny's dad is an insane saxophone player.
Yeah.
We had this one. That was Rick and the Humans too?
That was
right?
Rick and the Humans, yeah.
Yep. Where he actually bought a baritone sax for one of the tracks.
Yep.
He's like, I've never had a Barry, always wanted a Barry.
Let's go get a Barry.
I'm gonna go get a Barry to play this part.
Yep. Yeah, and he said, I think he actually said the hardest part about playing the Barry parts was just holding it up because it was so heavy.
A band that we came up with, the Hologrammatics.
Which we actually called Hollow Neon.
Yes. Yeah.
Later we found out they changed their name to the Hologrammatics.
Which they would. I mean,
they would do that.
Yeah. I
they
mean,
were just, that's how
every
they are.
album they should change their name.
Exactly.
Honestly.
Yeah. So versatile.
Right. But we would just kind of picture the stage in our head and go, okay, how many keyboard players are there? This is like a band of like, there's a robot drummer, there is a DJ, and there's like 3 keyboard players. So when we were going to write and when we were producing out the tracks, we were like, okay, can 3 keyboard players play these parts?
Yep.
Right? And like, what's a drummer gonna do? Like, okay, so the robot drummer's obviously he's playing his own part. And then he's like triggering pads too that like will trigger loops and stuff like that.
Crazy fills or something.
Yeah, crazy fills, exactly. That no human could ever play.
Exactly. That's why he's a robot.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like thinking of that stage is like a good, and if you just have that in your mind, then I feel like you could produce for really anything.
Yeah, you can stay within their world. And I think another thing is, once we were like, okay, this is the band we're doing, if while we're producing it, you know, if I wanted to throw a synth on there, Matt might say like, wait, would this band use this sound? You know, and we're like, oh no, let's go back to the walking bass. You know?
Right.
Or like whatever it was. So we always kept each other in check to make sure we were staying within that band's sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. We would start with a call with Velan, and we would just throw ideas back and forth. And then they would just let us like go off and do our thing. When we send the music back to them, we would send a band bio with it and say like, here's the band, you know, and actually the emails are like, welcoming, you know, Johnny and the Breakers, or like whoever the band was.
It's like we were sending promo emails.
It was like we were,
band.
exactly. Matt might come back with some notes, and we would talk through the notes.
He had awesome notes.
He always had really great notes.
Yeah, that's like
I remember like we appreciated the notes that that Velan gave us.
all the feedback was like awesome.
Yep.
And it made the tracks better.
It
really,
made it, yeah.
like,
You can always tell when someone's like giving you a note, or just to like give you a note.
it was never that.
It was never
like,
that feeling.
Everything was very precise. One note that we were getting was like the drums should change up a lot more. More often. So, but you know, come to find out that it's like really specific. Like with video games, like they need different sections to kind of like piece it apart and to loop different sections, and like. Yeah, like it shouldn't sound the same all the way through.
Mm-hmm. One of the special things was just being able to provide the music for such a crazy world.
Yeah.
I think, you know, figuring it out, blending all these different genres together was really cool. It's just Knockout City is so different. And it's its own thing. I don't even know if is it on Earth? I don't even know. No, it's in a different,
Yeah.
But yeah, just that is creating this sound for this world is what made it special.
Totally. Yeah, it was such a kind of a purple cow scenario where you saw something and you're like, I know what this is, but I've never seen it done like this before. And that's kind of like where we approached it with the music too, like with all the walking bass lines and stuff like that from the 1950s. It was like, yeah, you're hearing that kind of like 1950s vibe, but you're hearing it in a completely different way. So we really tried to take that same approach with the music.
Yep. Yeah, blending like the retro with the futuristic was always something that we kept in mind. Like Matt said, like with the walking bass, like we're like, we can't just do like a regular walking bass. Like, you know, let's throw some crazy synth, you know, underneath that walking bass sound to kind of blend the modern and the retro, and it would turn into something really cool.
I think one of the best parts about working on this project was just the collaboration between us and Velan, but also the collaboration between us and the musicians that we were able to work with on this. Just fantastic players, and every time we would like, because we would be working with a lot of them remotely, and every time we would get back, you know, stems from them, and we'd throw them into the session, we'd go, oh my God, this is unbelievable. Like, and what we would always look at each other, go, what the heck are we making? Like, this is insane.
Yeah.
It was just such a fun journey to be a part of.
Yeah, working with the players are amazing. Like, Chris Tedesco is just like the brass master.
Yeah.
Les Pierce, who's my dad, is like, you know, the sax man. Like insane.
Yeah.
Like you'll hear it, like especially like in Rick and the Humans, like it's just insane. And then Steve Ouimet.
Yeah. Crazy
guitar player.
Yeah.
You know, and he really like nailed the like the surf rock vibe that we were throwing in some stuff. With like the Barry guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very special part, is like just being able to work with such great musicians on this.
Yeah. I mean, Steve's house looks like a retro version of Guitar Center. It's crazy. Like, he's got every single amp known to man. So whatever we would throw it at him, you know, I'd be like, we need it to sound like a Wipeout kind of vibe.
Yep.
And he's like, oh man, well I'm looking at that guitar and I have this amp and I'm just gonna plug it in, and it's gonna sound like Wipeout.
The Tone Master.
Great.
Yeah.
Quick, for each of you, what is your favorite track from the soundtrack?
That's not quick. Come on. Favorite track? Are you really gonna do that to us?
Choosing a favorite child.
That would be easier, to be honest. Man. Can we have like a top 3 favorite?
Sure.
Okay, so top 3, Don't Stop the Bop, Affective Dissonance, and Get Out of Dodge.
What's the one with like the nice melody, the major melodies? That's
Doo-Wop the Bop.
Doo-Wop the Bop. Firefingers. When I was coming up with the guitar lines for that, I was thinking about when I was a kid playing Tony Hawk. That game like is really the game that kind of like got me into music, and it just like listening to that soundtrack was like the reason why I play guitar. When I was writing the guitar part for that, I'm like, I want to try to write something really cool so that a kid playing Knockout City can pick up a guitar and try to play what I'm playing. It made me think of that, and so Firefingers is definitely up there. That might be my favorite, actually.
What was it like playing the game and hearing the music as part of the world?
Yeah.
It was amazing to hear our music as part of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, while I was playing the game, I had to keep asking myself, like, do I just love this game because I'm like hearing my music while I'm playing the game? Which obviously not. The game is super fun. But that's the best feeling, to just go from writing it to playing the game and hearing it finished in there, and like just seeing it work so well in the world. It was amazing.
You may or may not use this, but when I was playing it, I kept hearing like the new track come on, and I'm like, that's us, right? Oh yeah, that's us. Okay, good. They still like our music.
There's always that fear that they're just like, hey
yeah,
guys, we went with someone else.
It's like, no. But it was just such like the sky opened, and it was like, it's all us.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's so
It's
cool.
real.
It's real.
It's real.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to say in this segment? I know.
That's Knockout City, baby.
Yeah. Watch the new
City,
one.
baby.